It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. This is the C Block, the Charlie Block. Today's date is April 28th. It's a Monday, and we start the C Block right around 7:40. John, I'm going to tell you something that happened to me Friday, which was a real eye-opener for me. You know, I am a big proponent of radio, and I promote radio whenever I can. And recently, there's been a bunch of changes in the radio business, where station, which is down in the Southplex, we'll call it down there, KBDZ, interesting station. They've made a lot of waves because they're got a lot of ex-KSHE people, and they're playing a lot of good rock and roll. They recently leased a station that covers the Westplex, 101.7. So now you can hear them on 93.1. Their station had a decent signal, like in Jefferson County and South City, South St. Louis, but you really couldn't hear it in St. Charles County. So they leased this new station. And I remember last week I put up a thing on my Facebook page. I know you don't look at Facebook, but I put it up on my Facebook page about, saying, hey, look at this. Let's support local radio. These guys are local and great. Remember that, John?
And yeah, I do remember that. And Brad, I saw it on Twitter, and I actually went, after I saw it on Twitter, I went to your Facebook and saw your Facebook post on it too. And I want to say real quick, Brad, that when I saw that, I thought that was really magnanimous of you, and it underscores what you do by your actions. You don't just say, oh, promote local radio. You're actually doing something to promote local radio. Go ahead, Brad.
I've talked about it too many times in the show, and John, you could get tired of me saying, is the fact that what we need to do is, instead of being enemies, instead of looking at other radio stations as competitors, and I say this time and time again, I don't view other radio stations as competitors. I view Alphabet, which is Google, and I view Meta, which is Facebook, and Instagram, and WhatsApp.
And Netflix, don't forget
Netflix, and all the other digital platforms. Those are our true competitors, and the radio business should come together and promote each other, cross-promote. Well, I am happy to report that I heard from Kevin Russell, the general manager of Don Z Communications, which is the licensee of KBDZ, and he was super nice to me. He complimented me on what I was doing, felt that I was really, really, really making a difference in the radio business, and was very, very happy the fact that I'm complimenting the fact that he is now broadcasting to the Westplex. And interestingly enough, we have two stations that has Westplex in their name. We have Westplex 107.1, which is our music station. We have this station, which is KSLQ. And by the way, he told me he loves to listen to you and I on KSLQ. He's been a big fan of KSLQ for years and years and years. And he just couldn't say enough nice things.
I know. And then we have the Wayne's World. Michael Myers' voice comes in and says, what, Brad?
He did. He said.
Oh, I thought you were setting up for a 1990s not.
No. It was.
So I don't talk about things that you and I talk about or text about off air. I didn't see the end of the story. So the story ended well then, right?
Oh, he couldn't. See, my whole thing is radio stations carp back and forth at each other. Like you made a comment about Diane Jones. Okay. The interesting thing is, so far in this show right now, we've talked about 3 or 4 other different radio stations. On other stations, if I were to mention the call letters of another station, that would be immediate dismissal. You'd be fired. If you were on,
of course you would. You don't promote other stations. That's the way that it goes, right?
If Mark Cox on 97.1 said, well, over on on Tracy's station this morning, you got Dan Strauss, and boy, Dan's a great guy. He'd be gone. And matter of fact, back in the day, when Robert Hyland ran KMOX with an iron fist, if you were seen in the same restaurant if you were an employee of KMOX, and if you were seen in the same restaurant with an employee of another radio station, that was grounds for dismissal. If
they were just waiting tables, because radio doesn't cut it. Now, Brad, how did the story come about where you ended up speaking with Mr. Russell?
He called me because he sent me a nice little text. Said, Brad,
he sent you a text and you responded and said, call me, right?
Yeah, no, he sent me a text. And see, once again, I now conform to the John Combest School of Communication Ethics or Protocol, where you can't just call somebody in the phone. You have to text them first. And I essentially said, hey, call me, and I gave him my phone number. Well, he had my phone number already because he texted me. So we had a great conversation, and he was very complimentary of what we're doing. Like I said, he was like a huge fan of KSOQ, remembers from the old days, and was very complimentary of what they're doing, stuff like that, and told me he couldn't be happier about, and he said this is the interesting thing. He told me he got several people that responded, that called him because of the fact, hey, I saw this really nice post on Brad Hildebrand's Facebook page complimenting you and telling you about how we should do business with local business. So that's part of the reason that drove his attention to the fact, and he went and looked at it on Facebook, and he thought, man, this Brad's a nice guy. So that's how the whole thing started. So now he's, I don't want to say a fanboy, but I would say that he's like in our camp, and he's, I don't want to say he's drank the Kool-Aid or drunk the Kool-Aid, or however you say that. But, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they're running promos on KBDZ. If Randy Raley right now, I would be surprised if he's not saying, hey, you can listen to classic rock here on KBDZ 93.1 or 101.7, or you can listen to Brad and John on 104.5. Well, you take the pick. I got a feeling that's what Randy Raley's saying right now. What do you think, John?
I think you're joking about that. I think that's your exaggeration part of the story. And over the weekend, Brad, so I learned, of course, about KBDZ through you, and I set it as one of my presets last week. And as I was driving, I was listening to it over the weekend when I was in the car. And I thought of you, Brad, because I didn't know that the story ended well, because the last update that I had, it didn't look so great. And I remember thinking, it's such a shame that I like this station, but I know they don't treat other, people that run other radio stations, namely Brad. I know they don't treat people like with the utmost respect. I didn't know that the story had a happy ending.
Oh my God, John, happy ending. Come on, it's all butterflies and daisies, with dogs running around in the meadow, stuff like that. And by the way, interesting thing, you've never listened to the station before. So in other words, I've turned a new listener onto their station. Is that what you're telling me?
So I saw a Post-Dispatch piece that mentioned them, months ago, but I wasn't going to actually listen to it and set it as a preset. But then you talked about it. I saw your post about it. And I'm like, oh, half of the music they play, I'm probably not into, but the later half I am. Well, and it's a preset that I listen to in the car now.
Remember, the interesting thing was that the thing I mentioned to you was that, and I put, this essentially it's like a page out of their sales book or something like that. Is there, like their handout. And it was very well written. Talked about, because remember I talked about last week, you always criticizing boomers, talked about boomers have all the money, boomers do this, boomers do that. And John's going like, well, boomers are terrible. They're terrible people.
Yeah, I don't say they're terrible. I say that they should not check out in the checkout line in front of me. That's all, Brad.
Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Okay.